I love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now waiting, better believe in your mind, cause it's everything. You can mold, shape, find almost anything.
Hey everybody, this is Praxis. I'm going to be working in this video. There's some noise going on in the background, so I got the mic pretty close to my mouth. Hopefully you'll be able to hear what I'm saying, because what I'm going to be saying, I think, is really super critical important. Here on prepping channels, we'll oftentimes talk about things that we think are, important for life-saving, and in this video, I'm talking about something that, it's always saving my butt, even during normal times. I recently had an infection in one of my back teeth. I haven't had any cavities for 15 years or something like that, but back a number of years ago, my dental hygiene was not what it is today, and I'd gotten some cavities. I ended up getting a root canal in one of my teeth, and that tooth got what I believed was an abscess. It was swelling, it kind of descended down, there was a lot of pressure sensitivity, I could feel up in the gums, the sensitive area. From all my research, it seemed like an abscess. I called my dentist, and they were able to see me in quite a while. It was going to be almost a week before they could see me, and one of the first lines of things that you do if you have an infection up in your teeth is to get antibiotics in. I didn't want to sit around and wait for almost a week for them to see me and then give me that that treatment. So I turned to my emergency antibiotics, and within 48 hours it all cleared up, and I've been finishing up the treatment over the past I did about 10 days on it. Whenever you start a treatment, even if it feels like it's great, after a couple of days you want to continue with it to make sure it's all stamped out. I did that. I'm just finishing up now, and for that I was treating myself with Amoxicillin, and I added to that, I can never pronounce this, Metronidazole or something like that. These are two things that are frequently paired in order to treat an infection in the tooth or mouth. This isn't medical advice. You got to do your own research, and you should do your own research. But in this video, what I want to talk about is having access to stuff like this at home. Oftentimes, when there is a tooth infection, the tooth ends up needing to be removed, and I'm just riffing here. I don't really know what I'm talking about. I'm a lay person. I don't have any medical training, although I routinely solve problems that are allegedly, at least I'm told by Western medicine, unsolvable. This is a common facet to my life and existence, is that I'm constantly solving things that are supposed to be unsolvable. And I think in this case, perhaps that's the reason for that is because I was able to intervene so early. Perhaps one of the reasons a lot of people lose teeth is because, and again, this is just me riffing as a total layperson that doesn't know what they're talking about, and yet tends to be an awful lot better than medical professionals in actually solving problems. So this is just my my guess, but perhaps it's the reason that a lot of people end up losing the tooth is because they experience the issue, they call their dentist, the dentist is like, yeah, we can fit you in about a week or two, and the infection just keeps growing and growing, and by the time they actually start the treatment, it's too late. So I think it's super important to be able to treat these things immediately. That was qualified as an emergency to me, even though Western medicine and hospitals and dentists are still functioning. They weren't functioning well enough to be able to see me immediately. So I get antibiotics for emergency purposes, and I've got a whole box of them right here. I want to talk a little bit about that, how you can get this stuff yourself, so you can treat yourself in an emergency situation where a doctor or a dentist either is unavailable to see you, can't see you, won't see you, whatever the situation might be. I think it's really important to have this stuff, because if you have a bacterial infection, there's really no other way to deal with it other than, that's a broad statement, but antibiotics are a really effective way, generally, of treating infections with bacteria. So in this video, I'm going to go over a couple things. How you can get this stuff, what types of stuff I have here, and what I do with it once I get it into my possession. Because when I get bottles of pills like this, I don't just store them like this. I store them like this. I'm going to be vacuum sealing these. I'm going to be putting a desiccant pack in here. I'm going to be labeling them, in a particular way. And as I think I mentioned at the beginning of this video, is going to be kind of a working video, because I just got this in yesterday. This is called the Jase case, and this is a great way of getting emergency antibiotics for yourself. I ordered this because I used some of my old supply, and whenever I use some of my old supply, I order new stuff. Now, this isn't the cheapest prep that you can possibly buy. You're not going to be able to run down to the dollar store and get this. This case here costs $250 or so. But, you know, if you were in a situation where you needed antibiotics, it can oftentimes be a life or death situation, especially for myself with having a tooth infection, or if you had a nasal infection. Those types of infections very easily can spread to the brain. I know someone personally that had that happen, and they were never the same. They ended up having to get parts of their brain scooped out. You know, it changed their personality. You know, and they came very close to dying during that situation. Bacterial infections are very serious, and you want to tackle them as quickly and as effectively and as aggressively, maybe not as aggressively, but as aggressively as is appropriate. So first off, if you want to get yourself a Jase case, I'm going to put a link down in the description below. That's an affiliate link. I am an affiliate with them. I think I get like $10 or $20 or something like that if you order one of these. I'm going to put a code that you can get, which I believe gives you $10 off on the case. You know, you pay the same price that I did. I don't get any special deal on this. I had to dump $250 to get my own case, but I keep ordering this stuff because it's so important, and I cannot emphasize enough how important this stuff is when you absolutely need it. So that is where that's the best place to get the stuff. Now, this thing here, this is Fish Mox Forte. This is amoxicillin, and this is actually the amoxicillin that I was using on my tooth here. The reason I chose to use that instead of some of the new Jase case stuff is because the new Jase case stuff, I've ordered 2 Jase cases so far. You can get 1 per year, and I always just use the oldest stuff first. Now, not all antibiotics are good forever. Some have extremely long shelf lives. Some have shorter shelf lives. Amoxicillin is not among the longer shelf life medications. There's been some research done on this. Specifically, the U.S. military did something called the SLEP, Shelf Life Extension Program. Although strategic's not a bad guess for a first word that starts with S in a defense sort of alphabet soup study. But amoxicillin has been confirmed to be effective after at least 2 years or so. My amoxicillin expired in 2018. And at the time of this recording is 2014, that's 6 years later. I went a little bit out on a ledge, and I tried it out, because even when things have been confirmed to last up to, you know, say 2 years or so, that doesn't mean they don't last longer than that. It's just, there haven't been a lot of tests on this stuff because, you know, can you imagine there's not a lot of money in it? Is there a lot of money in pharmaceutical companies demonstrating that customers don't need to throw their products out and buy new ones? So, you know, there's not a lot of money in, you know, learning this stuff. I don't know why the military hasn't continued to do more of these programs, or maybe they have, but they don't release them to the public. I've taken a compilation of a lot of different university studies from strategic, it's not strategic, the Shelf Life Extension Program done by the military. Various universities have done studies on this. And it's kind of hard to get your hands on this information because there's a little bit over here, there's a little bit over here. Some of it's behind paywalls. NASA, ISS had done some studies about you know, medications in space, and you know, the amount of life extension that could be applied to medications that are up in space. They don't have to keep launching up, you know, more medications to have them on stock up there. But it's difficult to get your hands on all this stuff. So I've been compiling it into a table, and you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put link down in the description below. If you're one of my Patreon members, I'll give you free access to this table that I've been creating. Now, this table is, to the best of my knowledge, a faithful reproduction of the studies that have been done. There could be some errors to creep in, so I just say that as a general disclaimer, that if you download this thing, you know, you should do your due diligence and confirm all this stuff. I know most people aren't going to do that, but I feel like I should just remind you, I'm a human being, and as I was copying information from the study and being very careful about it, because I compiled this table for myself, for my family, so I wanted it to be, you know, accurate and reflect the, you know, the actual information from the studies. But you know, I'm a human being and maybe I could have made mistakes as I was translating things. And also, some of these studies, there could be mistakes in the studies as well. So none of this stuff is 100% guaranteed. You know, in the same way that if you buy a can of, these are diced tomatoes at the grocery store, and even if you eat it way ahead of expiration, sometimes these things can actually be bad. So nothing in life is 100% guaranteed, and the more you kind of push yourself up against the edges, the more of that kind of a risk you take. But again, if you're a Patreon member, I'll provide you with my personal table that I use for a ton of different antibiotics, everything that has been studied. I don't put my own personal anecdotal experiences into that table. I've been thinking about maybe incorporating some of that, because while the U.S. military was able to determine that amoxicillin is good at least 2 years past its expiration date, I used this amoxicillin and it seemed to be effective by my adding about 30% to the regimen 6 years afterwards. Oftentimes medications will just degrade and you need to use a little bit more of it to get the same result. Although some medications you got to be careful with, aspirin being an example of that, where there are some medications like aspirin that actually become toxic once they get old. So you can't just universally say that because one medication is good at past expiration that that can be applied to all others, and that's where that table that I mentioned down in the description below comes in. So I don't have my own personal anecdotal findings on that table right now. I'm not sure whether how I would want to express that, if I'm going to be sharing it with people for my own personal use. You know, that would be entirely appropriate, but my own personal anecdotal information that I've gained from my own experiences is just one data point, and that's not really a scientific study, just having one data point. Maybe I just got super lucky or something like that. You know, you never really know until you do a real study with a lot more data points than just one person's experience. So in the past, anyway, I've gotten this kind of fish stuff, and this was what I was using because it was old. You can't buy fish antibiotics here in the United States anymore. The government clamped down on that because I don't know, too many people were treating early and not losing their teeth. You know, I'm being sarcastic and maybe a little cynical about that, but you can't go that route anymore. But you can 100% legally go to Jase Medical, and there are a number of other distributors as well. And you know, it's completely above board. They send you a lot of packets and information on all this stuff, and that's actually something I wanted to talk about in this video, because I mentioned I bought a couple in the past, and they come with this emergency antibiotic guide. This is the old one that they used to come with, and this was good. It talks about, like, you know, what you can do with amoxicillin, what it's useful for, you know, how much you should take. You know, useful guide. This is the new guide that I just got. You can see the thickness difference there. This one is awesome. I mean, just the guide itself is worth quite a bit of, I mean, the $250 that I spent getting the medications, you know, this guide, I really value the guide itself. I mean, there's so much more information on all these different things. I haven't even gone through all this yet, but this is what actually got me thinking, man, I want to do a new video, because I'd done a video a while ago about it, and they've really upped their game on this new manual. I can't wait to really pour into this. There's diagnosis information, there's just so much. So I can't wait to get into that. They give you a lot of information with it, so it's totally legit, and I have never had an issue using medications in this way, and they have saved me so many times. I had cellulitis once on a injury on my leg that I wasn't able to treat early enough. I got it out in the woods, and it was a one day I didn't bring my emergency pack with me, and I ended up getting cellulitis, which is a skin infection. I was able to treat that myself effectively. The tooth prophylactically against Lyme disease. Once I had a tick bite. It was a Lyme disease tick, a deer tick, and I was able to prophylactically, clean myself of that, so that there's just so many situations that have come up where I've used this stuff. One last thing I want to talk about before I start packaging these things up is whenever you use antibiotics, they're going to really flush out your system. So yogurt is a good way of giving yourself kind of a re-inoculate yourself with helpful bacteria into your butt and your microbiome afterwards. So let's start jumping in on this. I'm not going to be packaging these up. I'm going to be leaving these out because, again, my dentist appointment for checking this out after the fact, because I'm not just totally going it alone. I do want a dentist to kind of like, get some x-rays in there, just see how everything's going. And they're still not able to see me for a while. So even though I've finished the course, I'm going to leave these out. These are going to be sitting in my refrigerator to keep them clean and safe. And what I'm going to be doing with the rest of these is I want to vacuum seal them. And I just want to show you how that all goes. Okay, so these are different packaging than they came in before. They used to come in this, and now they're in these things. They're just green jars, same kind of thing. And I'm going to be putting those into vacuum seal bags. I've got a bunch of old vacuum seal bags. I've got a vacuum sealer here, the Mooker. That's a wonderful name for it. I'll put a link down in the description below to this too if you're interested in doing this. I think there's a great way of making this stuff last as long as it possibly can. Now I would mention that this stuff here, I used this 6 years past expiration, and I only recently started vacuum sealing things. So this actually sat on the shelf without the vacuum sealing and the desiccant pack for a long time prior to me adopting this. So if you don't adopt this practice, you may still get quite a bit of shelf extension. The fact that I got that 6 years past expiration, it still seemed effective, isn't explicitly or exclusively, I mean to say, just because of this fact. So let's go in here. The first one I've got here is the one I can't pronounce, Metronidazole or something like that. I could make it sound Spanish, Metronidazole. Or is that more Italian? I don't know. Okay, so I'm going to put this in here. I want for the expiration date. These labels, to be honest, Jase, these labels are kind of like crappily printed out. You're running out of toner on your printer on this. I mean, it's okay because you got the book that comes with it. But so I'm just looking for where the expiration is on here. Okay, so this one says it was dispensed in March of 2024, and it says discard after, which you're going to read through the broken up printing, on March of 2025. So they give it a 1 year shelf life. And you can reorder from them once per year. But I just reorder from them whenever I use some of it. Okay, these are the desiccant packs I'm using. These are way bigger than they need to be. These are, how many grams are these? Does it say on here? I'm not sure. These are 10 gram desiccant packs. I think 5 gram desiccant packs, 2 gram desiccant packs probably would be fine. But this is what I got, so I'm using these. So close that back up. Okay, so we've got this. And it goes into the vacuum seal bag. Now this is an old reused vacuum seal bag. Look like I put some salmon in here just based on the staining of it. I reuse these things all the time, and I don't have any problem with it. And again, like I said, I want to be able to see the expiration date on these, and I want to be able to see what type of medication it is. And I just put the packet right up against there. And I know you can't see what I'm doing down here, but if you know what a vacuum sealer does, you know what a vacuum sealer does. So I'm placing it down on the area where I'm aiming the bag at, closing it up gently, and let's see. When you reuse the bags, occasionally I'll find that one will fail after use if it gets punctured a little. All right, and it's sealing it. But you tend to know right away because you'll try to get a vacuum seal and then you'll see that the air starts going right back into it. Okay, so here we go. So I've got this thing all vacuum sealed like that. The desiccant pack I put right up next to it. These bottles are not as strong as some of the other bottles, so the bottle got squished down, but that's fine. And the last thing I want to do is, because I just want to make it easy for myself later, I write the expiration date on the top here. So this says it expires, and I just put an X, expires 5 of 25. So next time when I'm going through this bag, instead of me having to try to look on all the bottles to find out exactly where the expiration date is, it's really obvious, just right up there on the top. And this bag here is all full of amoxicillin, and this bag here is all full of the Metronidazole or whatever it is. So I'm going to put this in with this bag. Initially, when I first had just a few, I wasn't organizing like this, but this is a nice way of kind of sorting through. Instead of me having, if I just want, why do I have to pick this one I can't pronounce? If I just wanted Metronidazole, I wouldn't have to look through all my antibiotics. I could just open up this bag, and there's only, what, how many are in here? 4. There's 4 of them, so I only have 4 to look through to see what the oldest one is, so I can cycle through the oldest one first, if I feel like it's still appropriate given the shelf life of Metronidazole. All right, so I'm going to close this guy back up. The pharmaceuticals that they provide to you, by the way, if you're interested in that, in here are Metronidazole, and I'm just butchering that. Metronidazole is how you spell that one. And then they give you Doxycycline. I've used that one before. Ciprofloxacin is one that's useful for a lot of different things. All of these, have issues where people could have allergies or allergic reactions or something like that to them. Or they can have side effects. All of these have that. But I do know someone in particular that had taken ciprofloxacin, and it had really done a number on their system. It's a woman that runs another YouTube channel about chickens, and she said that really bent her over. And she wasn't using like old stuff or anything like that. She was prescribed it by a doctor, and all of these you have to take them with a sense that there's pros and cons to all of these. Also Azithromycin and Amoxicillin is in this this pack that I've got here. Okay, I'm going to do the next one. This one's in a box. Oh, it's got someone's hair in it. I don't know. That's it's not a big deal. It's like it's a little unprofessional. I don't know. I like the company. They do fine, and the antibiotics work. But you get things with a bunch of like messed up labels and someone's hair in the box, and it's like, okay, well, whatever. But in an emergency situation, I don't someone could throw a fistful of pubes in there, and as long as the medication still works, I'll be happy with it. So azithromycin, I'm going to put it in here, and I'm going to get a desiccant packet in here. Strep throat is another thing that's come up where I was able to treat that. And a lot of times I'll find where it's not even necessarily an emergency, but it's like you're about to leave on a trip. It always seems like something happens right before you're about to leave on a trip. And, there's just no time. You can't cancel your trip, or you don't want to cancel your trip. And, you're not going to get a dentist or a doctor's appointment in time before you leave. And, there's all sorts of reasons why it's nice to have this kind of stuff just in your back pocket. And in my own personal experience, I know that a lot of stuff gets kind of like a taboo attached to it. It's about like, don't mess with medication unless you're a trained doctor. Don't mess with your plumbing unless you're a trained plumber. Don't mess with your wiring unless you're a trained electrician. Unless I just get really lucky all the time, I'm constantly achieving things that are supposed to be impossible, according to trained professionals. So you got to be careful. You got to take responsibility. You got to, when you're taking responsibility for yourself, you have to accept that you might make a mistake, and that a mistake could cost you. But I trust myself all the time, and there's very few instances where I think to myself, oh man, I should have, I shouldn't have done that, or I should have gone to someone. In fact, the majority of times when mistakes happen, it's when I trust someone else's judgment, and I have a voice in the back of my head suggesting this doesn't seem right, but this person knows what they're doing. Those are the times when when I get bit in the butt. Okay, so this azithromycin has an expiration date. I think they probably just made it 1 year after today. Okay, yeah, they actually cut it off on this label. Did they? Yeah, it could cut off on the label. This is not much of an advertisement for Jase Medical. I love their products, but it's like there's hair in there. They're missing some stuff. But you know what is the winner? I'm writing the expiration date anyway, so it doesn't matter. But you know what really got me wanting to do this video is this book. That is an awesome book. Because if you ever do this stuff on yourself, okay, this expires, I'm going to infer that they would have written it expires 5/25, because that's a year from today. I've done a lot of this stuff myself, and I'm not going to sort all through there. I'll do that off camera later on. I've done a lot of this stuff myself, researching, how to treat different things, And, you know, it's honestly difficult to get the information. There is a real barrier between the people who need this information and the ciprofloxacin on this one. There's a real barrier between this information and the people who need it. You know, there's that wall that, you know, doctors maintain. And, you know, I know the word on that is, you know, we maintain this wall for your protection because you can't be expected to, you know, properly take care of yourself. That's, you know, that's the explanation for it. But when you are in a situation, when you do need to take care of yourself, it is really frustrating when you can't get information that you know exists out there. You know, if you are wanting to, you know, take some medication and you want to do it safely and you want to know the procedures for it, they make it really difficult to find that information. And that is why books like this are so valuable. I mean, this book alone is probably worth just 50 bucks with the information right in there. And then you get, like, for 200 bucks, you get the, you know, all the actual medications in there. But it's really frustrating to me when there is this separation between people and the information that they need. So, you know, I love having that book. Okay, so I'm just going to write on all these. I'm just going to do a year from today, because that seems what Jase is doing, is just giving these things, you know, 1 year shelf life. Ciprofloxacin, I'm saying from memory, that was one of the ones that had a really long shelf life when I was looking into the military studies on this topic. Ciprofloxacin and penicillin, I believe. Again, you can check down in the description below. See, again, these labels are just, they dog-eared that. Why would they dog-ear the label? Do they dog-ear all the labels? No, just that one. I don't know, it's just kind of weird. I mean, again, like, you know, this isn't an ad for Jase Medical, but I figured, you know, if I did this, people would probably be inspired to do what I do and have this stuff. But I'm all like, oh, there's hairs in here and everything. So, but yeah, I mean, I ordered this one. I'm happy with it. Next year, I'll probably order another one. I think it's a good idea just to kind of keep this stuff fresh and in stock. Okay, so this is, this is the Amoxicillin. So, you know, hairs or no hairs, I'm going to keep ordering from them, and then maybe they'll just continue improving the their book even more. Okay, so we got the Amoxicillin going at sealing. And I like the fact that I'm getting these all sealed, and the reason for that is this is my pantry, as you might have been able to infer by using your eyeballs. And I try to keep it cool, and I try to keep it dark, and I try to keep it dry in here. Dark is easy. Cool takes air conditioning, which you might be able to hear back there, and dry takes a dehumidifier, which is beneath your camera right there and might kick on during this video, which would be loud. But you know, this is going to keep these guys super dry. So as long as I keep them in here, they're going to stay cool, they're going to stay dark, they're going to stay dry. Okay, last one is the Doxycycline, which this is what I used for Lyme. Lyme is an awful illness. You do not want to succumb to Lyme. I know many people, though, that have gotten it and started getting the joint issues, and they started using the antibiotics right away for a month. They kept on it for a month, and they killed it. So it is possible. Although, again, different people may have different experiences with things. But that's my experience. Okay, this will be the last one. There we go. I'm giving the bottles a little squeeze to try to get what air I can out of them. But I don't want to damage the pills either. Oh, that's one thing I wanted to tell you. Just about the fish antibiotics. These are fish antibiotics here. Yeah, because a lot of people are like, you're not a horse, don't take horse medicine. You're not a fish, don't take fish medicine. that's a fish pill right there. I don't know, maybe koi. Like, have them come up like those giant koi, maybe they'd eat that. So, I mean, you know, this stuff was sold. It's like, seems to me, anyway, to be human medicine that was sold for fish so that people would have the opportunity to have it for themselves. I'm going to label my Doxycycline and then put them all in their individual bags and get them up there. 250 bucks. It is a lot to, it's a lot to pay. But if you're in a situation when you need this stuff, and about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, You know, I was in that situation. You know, it is so worth it. It's insurance as far as I look at it. And, you know, it's also the kind of thing that is, you know, people think about stocking barter items. You know, talk about barter items. If you had someone, I'm not saying to take advantage of people in an emergency, but, you know, if you had somebody that had, you know, a family member that was sick with an antibiotic, with an infection that required an antibiotic, you know, the amount of leveraging power you would have with this stuff is enormous. You know, expiration date passed or not, in an emergency situation, you know, people would, you know, do anything to save the life of a loved one. And again, I'm not suggesting that you, you know, take advantage of people and become some kind of like a heartless monster in an emergency situation. But when people think about barter items, is one here. Whiskey. I had some alcohol. I don't drink whiskey. I played with it once as like a sleep aid when I got sick. If I took a shot of whiskey, it, you know, got me to sleep. So I bought a whole case of it, and then COVID happened, and I learned how to avoid ever getting sick. And I haven't been sick in 5 years, so I haven't used any whiskey. But you know, people think about barter items like alcohol, cigarettes, even if they don't smoke. You know, things of that nature, gold, silver, and all that. You know, gold and silver, people are still going to haggle for that kind of thing. But you know, you got a dying family member. You know, there's nothing they wouldn't give for this kind of stuff. And again, I'm not suggesting people become heartless monsters and take advantage of people. But if you want to stock stuff that you will be able to trade in an emergency, you know, even if you're not stocking this stuff for yourself, it's well, there you go. So that's it. I hope you found this video helpful. This is something I clearly do myself, and I highly recommend other people. You know, you don't need like a huge box of it like this. This is just, you know, it's like some old stuff, and I just kind of keep it because it seems like it's generally good past expiration date. But you know, at least just having one of these, you know, if you just bought one a year, 250 bucks a year, that breaks down to like what, 20 bucks a month insurance policy to make sure that you or one of your family members never has to die during an emergency of some kind of completely treatable ailment. So that's it. Thanks for watching, and I hope you found this helpful. Hey YouTube preppers, if you enjoyed this video, here's another that I think you might like. But before you click on it, I wanted to take a moment to thank all the people you see on the right-hand side of your screen. They help to support all the work that I do here over at patreon.com. If you'd like to join them and get your name added to the list, the link's below.